Yes, this is DCFM 88.9. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to roll on to the next song. I think he's ready for us. So we'd better, I think, talk to our good friend Mathew Dickerson and do our wonderful opening that we always do. So here we go. I imagine he's smiling.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on DCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Richard. How are you going in lockdown? Still surviving?
Yeah, still surviving and staying safe. That seems to be the new word. When people say goodbye to you on the phone, bye-bye and stay safe. And I'm thinking, well, that's a nice thing to say.
Yeah, there's a bit of a care factor out there that maybe we didn't have in the past.
No, indeed it is. I tried to go for my second shot yesterday. Oh, what a shambles that was. I'm going for it today at 1:45. So if I'm not on the air tomorrow morning, you'll know why. No, I'll be right. Had the first one, not a problem.
Yeah.
Didn't even feel it go in. Didn't get a sore arm, got nothing. Hey, what's this about electric bikes and aeroplanes and wire and chains and I don't know. I'm confused. Tell me.
Well, we are familiar with aeroplanes now that they don't have mechanical connections between the controls and the actual devices on the plane that help the pilots fly the plane. They're called fly-by-wire. So they move their controls and then electronically other parts move. Now on push bikes, they're pretty simple. They've got a chain that connects your cranks as you turn the pedals to the back wheel. That's always a fairly simple process. It's been around for over 100 years. But now we've gone a step further. We were familiar with electric bikes. They've got a motor in there that helps, but that's still got a chain that connects the front cranks to the back wheel and the motor that actually adds to that. They've gone to the point now where when you're pedaling, you're actually turning a generator. No chain connects the crankshaft to the actual back wheel. You're spinning a generator. That generator provides power to a motor. Now, that motor can be in the back wheel or the front wheel. It doesn't matter. It can be in both wheels. So you can have a two-wheel drive electric push bike. They have a battery on them still, so it's got that battery power, but you're continually providing that power by spinning the cranks. One of the real advantages of this they talk about is maybe in, for example, a three-wheel bike. Some of the delivery vehicles you've got now for Australia Post are effectively a trike, a three-wheel bike with a larger compartment at the back to be able to have parcels, that type of thing in the back of it there. Connecting a chain from the cranks to those back wheels is a bit complicated. A very long chain, it's prone to come off. Sometimes you get greasy fingers when you try and change the chain over. But now you won't need to worry about that. You'll just spin the crankshaft. That'll generate the power to keep providing power to those back wheels. So it's not a bad process. One of the main things I thought of was the efficiency of the good old-fashioned chain from the cranks to the back wheel is very good. What's the efficiency difference when you go to a generator style? Now, the manufacturers of this particular product say you only lose about 5% of the efficiency compared to a chain. So not bad, and then a whole range of flexibility in how you might make a bike in the future.
Yeah, but I've got a few questions. How heavy is the generator, all right, compared to the chain? That's number one.
Sure.
And number two, in the weight of the thing, you've got to carry a battery, and how heavy is the battery? So you're carting around more weight and having to use more of your actual pedal power yourself to get all this going. And number three, is it geared?
Yeah, so the first two questions, there is more weight involved, definitely. An e-bike has more weight involved than a normal bike, but because you've got that motor to help you, you don't actually notice that extra weight. When you're riding an e-bike, and I've ridden a few different e-bikes to test them out, you get to a hill and you go, wow, gee, I got up to that hill. Well, I must be really fit at the moment. But you realise that the electric bike's doing most of the work for you. And then it is geared. So as you're pedaling, if you require more effort, in other words, if the electric motor is working harder, it actually changes the generator ever so slightly so that you are actually finding it harder to pedal. So you actually are pedaling harder as the electric motor needs more power. So it's geared in a way in that the electric motor requires more generational power rather than the old-fashioned gears of a derailleur and different cogs that it might move over to.
Oh, well, I can see potential there. I'm a little standoffish at the moment, but anyway, we'll let someone else try that before I have a shot. Now, in lockdown, we seem to need more entertainment and more coffee. That's certainly true, and you may have the perfect solution for us.
Perfect solution. In lockdown, I've actually been trying to get some of my kids to play a few board games with me, but it's hard to get a millennial to get something that's good old-fashioned cardboard out of the cupboard and find those tokens and find that Monopoly money or whatever it might be.
Look, Monopoly's the standard, mate. You've got to have a Monopoly board somewhere that's full, surely.
Well, obviously you combine a few different ones to get what you need out of it, but this new concept here is a coffee table that's got good old-fashioned board games built into it electronically. So you can pull up Monopoly or Backgammon or Battleships, whatever it might be, some of those old-fashioned traditional games, but you've got more chance of getting millennials to play because it's electronic. And so the screen is all built into the actual top of the board. It's waterproof, so if you do spill your coffee on there, it doesn't go down and actually affect the board game itself. There's a number of games, about 40 games it comes standard with, but it's got Wi-Fi, so you can download new games as they become available. And even if you're playing a game like, for example, Scrabble, where you don't want someone to see your letters, it's got a little cardboard piece that sits on top of the screen, so it covers up your letters that are actually shown on the screen itself. So the thought of that. And then my favourite part, which might go down well with a coffee sitting on top of there, maybe, if you actually get hit, say, for example, in a Battleship game, the whole table vibrates so that you know that you've taken a hit. So it's a great concept, I think, and it may be a bit more of a chance of getting people to play some of these traditional board games.
Yeah, it might be, but also doing it on the vibration, depending how full your coffee cup is, could be a bit of a disaster there. But anyway, but no, I like it. I like that one. Now, when I was at the railway station, Union Station in Washington, D.C., I went into a shop and they had a wonderful T-shirt there that was giving CNN a hard time, and I said, I've got to have that. So I went over to the counter and said to the young ladies behind the counter, could you put this across my shoulders to see if it fits me? And with my Australian accent, they just about fell over and said, say that again. And so I said it again, and they were obliged and everything. And they said, what's the accent? I said, Australian. They said, oh, we love it. So speak to us. So I had to speak. But apparently you're saying that we have to, if we want to really mix in with people, we have to use their accent, and we can do that. We can mimic them.
Well, and this is the thing, isn't it? When you go to somewhere like America, classic example, you start finding yourself saying things like car instead of a car. We start saying things like sidewalk instead of footpath. To fit in with people, you start talking the way they might talk. Now, call centre workers have got this problem because they're dealing with people from all around the world, and there's different accents from all around the world. So they might be speaking English, but there might be different accents from Australia or America or all sorts of different places around the world. One of the things that they tried to do was they tried to use some AI for the call centre worker to speak. It then went through an AI process, and then the computer actually spoke to the person at the other end, mimicking the accent that they had. But they found that was just taking too long. There was too big a pause from when the call centre worker spoke to when the person at the other end heard it. So the latest process now is in real time, when the call centre worker speaks, then what happens is in real time, their voice is modified ever so slightly to mimic the accent of the person that's calling in. So the idea is that they're just talking, having a normal conversation, but the AI is jumping in the middle and making the call centre worker sound like the person that's called in. It does it within 200 milliseconds, so there's not much of a delay there between the two, and the person just thinks they're having a conversation with someone that might be just around the corner from them. So if you've got a local accent, it might be a Melbourne accent or a Perth accent or an accent from another country, automatically AI will learn that accent and mimic that during the process of the phone call.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I can see some negatives against it, but anyway, we'll wait and see on that one.
Might make it easier for people to understand what's going on.
Well,
also
yes.
make people feel more comfortable with the person they're talking to.
Yes, but you know how it's going to be used for sales, though, don't you?
Yeah, more offshore workers.
Exactly, yeah. All right. Now, our watches can do heart rates, ECGs, blood oxygen. What health aspects are on the horizon for our wristwatches now? I mean, mine just tells the time, but then again,
How old-fashioned. How yesterday, Richard.
Well, it's got a sweep hand, so I can do seconds as well if I want to. It's a very nice Seiko, actually.
Yeah, good. But you are right. They do so many different things, heart rate and ECG, things that you just wouldn't dream they could possibly do. The next tools that will be available in a humble wristwatch, and we're talking about things that are happening in the next year to 2 years here, you'll be able to have something that will measure your blood pressure without putting a big cuff on your arm. It'll measure your blood pressure via what's going on just at your wrist level. Now, again, the accuracy of some of these things is not perfect, so it gives you an indication, but maybe not perfectly accurate. The other thing it'll do is temperature. So you'll be able to check that temperature. Now, originally they were designing this to help with fertility planning, but now obviously with COVID-19, we want to be able to check temperature and see if we've got a raise in temperature early, which might be an early sign that we've got something like COVID-19 or maybe just the flu. When you go to sleep at night, they'll check sleep patterns, including detecting whether or not you might have sleep apnea. Many people in Australia and across the world don't know they've got sleep apnea. They just wake up in the morning not feeling like they're particularly refreshed. That may be because they've been waking up lots of times during the night with sleep apnea, not getting enough oxygen in. So all these things are planned for watches, Apple in particular, but Samsung's there as well, Fitbit's there as well. So all these different watches are coming out with these different devices that will give us this incredible information. Blood sugar levels they'll be able to detect. So you'll be able to detect early on whether you might be a candidate for diabetes and maybe change things before you actually get diabetes. So these are the things that are happening, and they're all being done without invasion, with non-invasive processes. So checking blood sugar levels without having to take a prick, for example, of a blood sample from your finger. Now, I've got to say here, public service announcement, don't rely just on your watch to give all your medical advice. What I'd be using a watch for in this scenario is getting information about your body to then go to your medical professional and say, hey, my watch said I've got high blood pressure. Can you check me properly, please, to make sure that that's the case or what I should do about it? It's a good way just to keep people in touch with their health aspects.
Yes, I know. And I suppose yesterday I would have had very high blood pressure at one stage because I was negotiating things and I wasn't getting very far, and I could feel my blood starting to boil.
Well, that might give you early warnings about that as well.
Yes, I mean, there's very few times in my life that I remember losing my temper. Really, about 2 years ago, I really lost my temper about swimming, but that's another story. Yesterday, I was on the verge at one stage. Oh, God, it was just bureaucrats. You know what they're like? They don't move. No, this is the rule. This is the rule. No, I can't do that. No, this is outside the system. It was one of those ones. Angry. But anyway, maybe a smartwatch would have calmed me down because I look at my blood pressure's in that. Richard, calm down.
That's right.
You're dealing with an idiot. Matt, always good talking with you. We'll catch you next Wednesday for Tech Talk.
Sounds good, Richard. Thank you.